Thank you, everybody. Welcome to today's council meeting. And in terms of item one, we have had the council prayer this morning. So moving on from that, I have apologies from Councillor Dalgety, Councillor Hainsworth. Would somebody like to move receipt? Thank you, Councillor Hiroa and Councillor Wong seconding. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. I have no public forum today. The opportunity item for a conflict of interest. Does anybody have conflicts of interest they wish to declare at this point? How they can raise it at any other time during the meeting? No. Moving on. In terms of the confirmation of the order of business, I'm looking for alterations and corrections starting page 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11. 12, 13. No amendments. Would somebody like to move? Thank you. Councillor Sharlin moving. And thank you, Councillor Fee seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Moving rapidly along. Item number 7, 7.1. These are the follow-up actions in the previous meetings, referring you to page, essentially page 15 for a closed action. Is there anything else that needs to be? No? Would somebody like to move?
So just on that one, Your Worship, sorry if I may. The status says closed, so I just wonder if that, it says that first assets and infrastructure workshop is scheduled for the 5th of March. Status closed. So can we assume from that it has been taken over through to an agenda item for that meeting? If that's the case, I'm happy that it's closed.
Correct. Thank you. It will be an agenda item. On that basis, Chair, are you happy to move? To receive. Seconded. Thank you. Councillor Buckendale seconded. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 8. Boy, we're powering through them. Thank you. 8.1, the Mayor's report, and I will certainly take it as read and take any questions with regard to it. Some of the items that I've spoken on come up within today's council report, especially local water done well, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. Any questions on my report or meetings that I have been to?
Just one question for me, Your Worship, if I may. Your comment, which you've included in your report, that National Crown debt sits somewhere around about 180 billion. The source of that information, where did you find that? Was that something that was reported to you?
Several places you can get that information. You can go to the Taxpayers Union. It's probably the fastest one that will give you, and it will also give you the debt clock. So literally there is if you go Google debt clock or New Zealand debt, Taxpayers Union, you will see something that's rapidly spinning, giving you the debt that New Zealand owes as national debt. From memory, every hour it goes up by $1 or $2 million.
Something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, so I think I attended a meeting and I said, look, I'm talking for the next 20 minutes, half an hour. And during that stage, the national debt has increased by over $500,000. The reason that I've sort of pointed that out is this is the situation the New Zealand government has inherited, and their efforts to get the economy flowing faster, fast-tracked, a lot of the actions are driven by that, basically by that position. That is the government-owned debt. However, the national debt, which includes all other debt owed by New Zealand and New Zealand companies, etc., and individuals, is fairly heading very rapidly to $1 trillion. So these are astronomical figures. Yeah. That gives you-
Yeah, no, I just was wondering, I wasn't questioning the numbers, I was just
Yeah.
trying to check where the source had come from.
But it is relevant to where, rates pegging legislation and
Absolutely.
everything else comes into play.
That's right.
Councillor Fee, you look as though you've got a question.
I don't know.
Any other questions? I had, in addition to this, I had reported to council that I probably would not be accepting to be part of the two-year program this year. Just advising you that that may change. I've had a couple of people expressing the interest. My decision was largely based on my time availability and cost. But the program have said in terms of this year, the costs will be lower for us because internally transport is not such a big issue this year. Anything else? Move that it be received. Looking for a seconder to that. Thank you. I'll take Councillor Rakawa seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Moving to item number 9, Chief Executive's Report 9.1.
Thank you, Worship. We'll just go through each section like we normally do. The first section there is around what's been held at Council's Parks and Reserves, and you've got December and January. You can see that it's been really busy. It's been a very busy time for that team to get all these grounds and every part of our district looking nice for these events. And I also just want to say that this is probably the one area that I get the most positive feedback on. So Murray Phillips is almost embarrassed about how much feedback he's getting, including just last week they had the Taihape show jumping on the 7th and 8th of February, which will appear next week. But the organisers have been so impressed with the grounds and state of the grass there that they came in particularly to state that and said it's one of the best they've ever been on. So I just wanted to make that comment that, you know, while you see a huge list, that means there's a lot of work for that team.
Good questions with regard to that. Just one from me. I absolutely concur with the Chief Executive here, but one question I would ask, this is retrospective, and I wonder if there could be a system on Big Tin Can where councillors can go and see what is being booked ahead of time. So for instance, there may be councillors that were unaware of events that have happened in the northern part of the district, but I think actually I wouldn't have minded going and having a look at that. So I just wonder if that is a possibility that we can get some advice around what will be held.
A lot of these are advertised through our normal advertising on Facebook and other areas, but we can see if there's a way that you can see some of these easily on your Big Tin Can.
Yeah, and if I could add a comment, the major events are available. We have an events page on our Rangiteke Aotearoa page that we can provide links to so that you know it's there and can link into those events.
So maybe as part of the regular comms email that's going out, we could just include that.
Thank you. Just for, could somebody receive the report? Councillor Hiroa, Councillor Bucknell, seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you.
The next section is around staff movements, just for your information. And then the health and safety wellbeing dashboards. Any questions on those?
Councillor Hiroa.
No, I haven't got a question as such, but I just wanted to make a comment and send a mihi out with the recent fatality that's happened up on the road, and you've got it. So I just wanted to say from myself, but actually I would say from all of us, mihi to the whānau.
Yeah, it comes up later in the report.
I have also has the chief executive expressed condolences to the whānau, but also to the company because it's tough.
So on submissions, are there any comments? There's a lot going on in this space and we're trying to give you as much notice with draft submissions as possible, but you appreciate there are very tight timeframes with these. Next section, the civil defence review. I've just wanted to include a very brief summary in this report so that it was publicly noted that the report had been received and finalised in December, and now we're working through a work program on what we need to do as an organisation, and that work's already started. The next section.
Councillor Sharon.
Just through the chair, to the chief executive, I read the civil defence thing quite conclusively and found out, and it said, you know, we have some shortcomings in some of the things, and I see that we're focused on a program of 2 to 3 years. If we had a civil defence emergency now, would those shortcomings come back and bite us? Should we be getting on? I know it's a big thing, but should we be getting on to a bit earlier than 2 to 3 years?
I suppose it's there's a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of things that we can do initially, which we are doing and are prioritised.
Yeah.
But some of them will be like our EOC, that won't be up for another couple of years. So that's a part of that work program is to fit out the new facility. So that's just one example of where it sort of fits out. But also programming, training and exercising, and then what they look like over the next 2 to 3 years. But yes, we definitely have a priority, a system.
Especially after what happened in Mount Maunganui and the council popping all that flack, so. Good.
The next section is around the triennial agreement. So this is an agreement that councils sign after each election, and this hasn't been finalised yet. It's going to the mayoral forum, so we're just seeking approval for His Worship to actually sign that once the document has been finalised at the mayoral forum. So there's a recommendation.
So the recommendation is that His Worship the Mayor be delegated authority to sign the 2026 triennial agreement for the Manawatu Wanganui region. Could we have a mover, folks? So it's up for discussion. Councillor Sharon moving, Councillor Hayward seconding. Any question, discussion with regard to the motion? Put the motion to the table. Those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And as Councillor Hira mentioned before, there's just note around that tragic fatality that occurred in January, and noting there that it's still under investigation, and there'll be a full report to the Risk and Assurance Committee meeting to provide more information. The next section is around streetlight contract extension, and Darren's in the room if there's any questions on this, but it really is the next stage of this 3x3x3 contract. So we've got a recommendation 3 below, but if there's any questions, I'm sure Darren or Anna would be happy to answer.
Just a question from me. The contract that was set up 3x3x3 is reasonably explicit that unless there is a failure or poor performance, that is the avenue really to be able to not follow through. So any other questions?
Just one, Your Worship, if I may, and it's kind of in there, but I think it's possibly something for our first assets and infrastructure meeting. I'd like to see a little bit more indication of, because we're effectively funding just under $1 million in our local share of the 2.8 million that's been granted. Just would like to sort of see where that actually has an impact as such, and what can we hope as a district that it will expedite some work that might not have been done, or enable us to do something quicker or be reactive, but I think it's probably a assets and infrastructure one, just a little bit more of a breakdown on through to Darren and Arno there, if that's something we could.
I'll bring that, that's the next item, but I will bring that, yes.
Expand it out.
I've got a short breakdown of where the money sits, but I can expand on that if you like.
Yeah, I think it's possibly it's an assets and infrastructure one, a little bit more detail around your roading.
Chief Executive, do you see that as an action that?
Yes, we can. We're actually on the streetlight contract at the moment. We'll get to the roading one in the next
Yeah.
section.
Pull your head in, okay, will do.
So that's fine. So whether you want to have a look at this recommendation before we go to that
Right,
section in
okay.
the back, it's all right.
Sorry, I
Councillor
didn't deliberately let it run to dig a hole.
The hole's got quite deep, Richard, that's okay.
So recommendation 3, that council notes the extension to contract 1126 straight light maintenance with Verizon's network for the following period, March 26 to February 28, 29. Would somebody like to so move? Councillor Wilson, Chair of Assets, appropriate. There's no looking for a seconder to that. Thank you. I'll take you, councillor, and put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you.
But now we're on to the roading and extra funding. If there's any further questions to that one, I'm sure Darren will be happy to answer.
I'll be quiet now. Thank you.
So this was the subject of a workshop, so you fully understood it. So now we just need to formalise that, that this extra funding will go towards the work as indicated.
Can I just ask, in terms of those people online that haven't had the benefit of the workshop, can you tell us where this extra funding has potentially arisen from?
So South Island councils were hit by extra quantum of work for the emergency events that they've had down there. So they weren't able to complete their programs that they put forward for this NLTP. So they put their hands up and said to NZTA that there's a surplus there. They've gathered that surplus up and put it out to councils to apply to. So we, because of our issues on Taihape Napier and the deferrals that work, unexpected work has caused, we put an application in there for 2.8 million and we're successful. This the badgering that we've been doing, I think has certainly paid off there.
So the 2.8 million is the total cost of the work, but because there's a FAR rate, financial assistance rate for roading sitting at 66, that's the share that our council has to pay. So the cost to our council is 957k. Any questions? No, I guess that for me, this illustrates the concern that we have for our roads in our situation. Anything further from you before I put this to a motion? That's good. Thanks. So this is the acceptance of NZTA's offer for the additional funding and the explanation given. Chair of Assets, so moving, looking for a seconder to that. Councillor Sharlin, I think that was the seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Please push on.
Thank you. So the next item is around the Martin Community Committee, and I think it's pretty clear there that in terms of the reference being asked to include Martin Rotary and Martin Lions clubs in the membership. So this is just formalising that information file.
Thank you. This, I think, for the reason Councillor Hero question.
Just a comment, just to say that I think that this is if this is a success for the Martin Rotary and Lions Club, potentially that you could look at strengthening maybe falls or tiny leagues.
This couldn't provide a role
No.
going forward. Would somebody like to make the recommendation? Councillor Okawa, you move that?
Yes,
For a question? Move
No,
it.
I'll move
Looking
in
for a
that.
seconder to that. Thank you. Councillor Phillips, seconding, those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Next section is around the District Licensing Committee, which we're required to have. Again, I think it's pretty straightforward, but if there are questions, happy to take them because a recommendation there asking that Mr. Stuart Hilton be reappointed. He's done the role for quite a number of years for us and he's very capable. So this is tidying up that committee.
bearing in mind that the new councillors and people online, can I have an explanation of what the licensing committee are charged in terms of their work? Simply one.
Would you be happy to do that?
Thank you, Your Worship, through yourself. So the commissioner or the chair of the committee will look at all uncontested applications, and the committee will look at all contested applications. So whether there's objections to the application or not.
Any question from councillors? Would somebody like to move? Councillor Wilson moving. Councillor Hero beat you by a short head. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you.
And the next recommendation is around the advertising for those committee members.
Yes, this is aligned to it in terms of the process. They could have been separate. And looking for a mover to this. This is process around that. Councillor Wilson moving. Councillor Hero second. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you.
Right, the final section of my report is around the update on Central District's water. And so we're in another key state with the shareholders agreement or the shareholder committee coming in the next item. So this is just to provide an update of where we're at, and it formalises that in terms of my report. But we cover this, the shareholders committee on the next.
And we welcome to the table one of the many Chris's we deal with.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's the next item. And then just finally, just want to note that we had another staff meeting for the affected water staff just this morning. So Chris and Brent led a good conversation with them around the people need and what the work is that's going on in that space there. So we can keep our staff updated. That's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. We had received it, so move on to reports for requiring decisions. 10.1, local board had done well, initiating the shareholders committee for the Joint Water Services Control organisation known as Central Districts Water. So that I don't get out of step with myself, would somebody like to receive the report, recommendation 1, which will open it all up? Thank you, Councillor Baird moving, looking for a second to that. Councillor Wong seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Pass back to.
Right, thank you. Yeah, as I just mentioned, what this is formalising the shareholder committee, noting that Palmerston North agreed to this yesterday and Horowhenua last week at their council meeting. So we're the last one, last cab off the rank for this one. But I'll pass over to Chris, and I'm sure he's happy to take questions if there are any.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you for having me back again. Chris Steiberg, Executive Director for Central Districts Water. Seen you a few times now. And the last time presented to you was in December, and at that meeting we approved the signing of the shareholder agreement and constitution. You recall that. I think just importantly, just to remind ourselves what we agreed back at that point. So in that paper, we agreed to the establishment of the joint committee that we're talking about today. We approved its terms of reference, which was attached to the shareholders agreement, and we approved in that meeting the structure of the committee. And in particular that it would have a total of 10 members, one being the independent chair, and then 3 per council, one being an elected member, one being a mana whenua representative, and one being another person. You agreed at that time that when we set the committee up that you would delegate to your appointees to be able to operate on the committee. So that's where we got to then. So we're now coming back today. In this report, we're basically just saying, given you've done that, we're seeking your appointment, your approval of the appointment of the people to that committee. And your particular ones, you'll note that
the way that the appointment of the Mana Whenua representatives are being done is through a nomination from Ngā Tapa Waiaho for the 3 representatives. So each council is appointing the 3 representatives across the 3 councils. We've noted in the paper that there is a small technical non-compliance in the way we're doing that, because when we set up the terms of reference, we hadn't quite understood that was the way that iwi wanted to do those nominations. We've given you an assurance in the paper that it's a minor technical non-compliance, and that we have a process that we'll follow to be able to tidy that up going forward. The important thing about making this decision today is that it allows us to continue our process for the appointment of the directors. And in fact, the first meeting of the shareholder committee is scheduled for tomorrow. And one of the things on the agenda is the appointment of a panel to be able to continue on with that. That's critical, of course, because we've got a really tight schedule, as you all know, and that the appointment of the board is a real critical step in that process. And so doing this today allows us to continue on with that very aggressive timeframe and meet all of the legislative milestones that we have to do. So on that, I happy to answer any questions.
While you're thinking of questions, we are on track. The relationships between the 3 councils are solid, and essentially we're the last cab off the track here. So,
Councillor Harrison, I'm happy to move the recommendation.
which one?
Which are 2?
Recommendation 2.
Yep.
Looking for a second. I won't read all of the recommendation out, but if you wish me to, I will. I don't mind.
So it's there reported in the open order papers.
Yeah. Looking for a seconder to that. Thank you, Councillor Beard, seconding. Any discussion? This has been workshopped. This has been taken through a number of working groups and working parties.
Which I might just speak to a similar context that you've just done as the mover. The report, which is in our order paper, actually captures bullet pointed. So you're obviously taking very good notes, Chris, from our previous workshops, a number of the concerns that were raised by our councillors. And I appreciate the fact that they've been captured and addressed as we've progressed through this. So I think the report's good, and I think it's given some reassurances to the committee. So happy to move.
Okay, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Recommendation 3, that the Rangitikei District Council notes the roles and responsibilities of the Shareholders Committee as stated in the schedule in the terms of clause 38(2)(d) of Schedule the Local Government Act, delegates to the Shareholders Committee those roles and responsibilities. This is just the mechanism as to how it operates. Looking for a mover to that. Councillor Beard moving, looking for a second to that. Councillor Hill second. Councillor Beard, do you wish to speak to it? No. Any questions? Anybody wants to speak to it? Otherwise, put the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Recommendation 4, that Rangitikei District Council appoints the delegated power to make decisions in accordance with the committee's terms of reference the following persons as council's representatives from the shareholder committee of Central District for Water. His Worship the Mayor, Deputy Dave Wilson, and the alternate being Councillor Fiona Dale-Petty, looking for someone to so move. Councillor Beard moving, Councillor Sharon seconding. Do you wish to speak to it?
I think
Any speakers to it? Put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Excuse me. Just have a drink a second. Recommendation 5, that subject to confirmation of the Horowhenua District and Palmerston North City Councils, which has happened, the Rangitikei District Council confirms the appointment of the following persons nominated by Ngā Tapawai as the iwi representative of the Shareholders Committee for Central Districts Water with delegated powers in accordance with the committee's terms. So Tainui Confederation Hayden Tura, alternate for Hayden is Tiwana, is that the correct pronunciation? Tiwana Tibble. Danielle Harris, Di Rump is an alternate for Danielle. And for iwi of the Greater Rangitikei region, Marge Hene, and the alternate for Marge is the Suze Hepe is the alternate. Looking for someone to move in that direction, please. Councillor Okawa moving, thank you, quite appropriate. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Wilson, sorry, Councillor Wilson just beat it. Go to the mover. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
No.
Any questions or speakers to the motion?
No, just, yes, I may. I don't know any of these people personally, but certainly looking forward to our first meeting. I think it's, very much looking forward to getting to meet and greet and move forward, yep.
Councillor Baird.
I'm really encouraged to see how many people are on that list that I'm really interested in engaging.
Yeah. But it's been a genuine process and it's been a cordial process. So put it to the vote, those in favour? Those against, note that everybody was in favour. Okay, carried unanimously. Recommendation 6, that's subject to confirmation of the Horowhenua District and Palms North City Council for Rangitikei District Council to delegates council's representatives on the Shareholder Committee for Central District Water with power to confirm any replacement iwi members nominated. I'll move from the chair. That's been the case. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Okawa seconding. We have a question.
Yes.
Councillor.
So yes, I do have a question. So for this recommendation, does that mean that if the people that have been identified as the iwi representatives, you're talking about any alternate people, not the ones that have been identified here in recommendation 5?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Chris, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just, I guess, and if you take a step back, it would also be to your council representatives as well, of course. So the idea being is that, so council have the power. So you're saying to the committee, look, you can manage this yourself, going forward. So what it would be is, let's say in a few years' time, there was some people that, didn't have the time anymore and what have you, and they need to be replaced. So it means we don't have to go back to all 3 councils to go through this process again. The other thing I'll just sort of note in relation to that, and I've talked about it before, you may recall, we envisage having a memorandum of understanding that would sit between the 3 councils, the company and Tapawai. And that might set out a little bit more about the details of that process. But it doesn't sit in the Constitution or the shareholders agreement today. So that might give some guidance about how some of those things would happen in the future.
Yeah, thank you. The reason I asked that question was pretty much exactly what you said. So there's been a differentiation out of iwi, but then why then wasn't there? You've explained it. Why are the council the rest of the committee under that same space?
Yeah. So the other ones have to go through the council, and because it's easy enough for council to say, well, Councillor Wilson gets hit by a bus, we need to replace him. You can do that here, but it's a little bit more tricky when it comes to the other ones.
Thank you.
Want to be a big bus?
I don't think we'll let the council record.
Okay, we don't have any.
Councillor
Was that me being inappropriate again? Apologies.
Councillor Baird, your question.
Oh, this is not inappropriate either. I'm guessing this has gone through the other 2 councils already.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour, those against. Okay. In terms of just comment on this process, so the people looking at sitting online may think, well, this has been an enormous body of work that has just been approved within the space of a few minutes. I would like to reassure those people that this has been an exhaustive process. Chris, thank you for the work that you have put in terms of setting this all up in space. There have been so many meetings, so many considerations, so much process to go through. But what it has resulted in is the three councils leading the pack, really, of newly formed water entities in New Zealand. And we've set some things that need to be acknowledged in that place. I suspect that over time, other councils will wish to join this entity, or entities will amalgamate. And so it was important that we realise and recognise that an enormous amount of time and effort, not only by yourself, but obviously the chief executives and staff, the resource that have gone into this is incredible. And the nature in which it's been conducted has been convivial, respectful, but prepared to put up the difficult points. Councillor Hero.
Now, just a comment and just to total what you've just said, there, Andy, that within our Te Raupuahi car space, I'm the chair of that committee, that whole thing of looking at how we have done things within our council and how Horowhenua and Palmerston North have come together from an iwi perspective. It was brought up in that meeting from one of our members who sits on both sides of ourselves and another council, looking at how the example that has been set of the way that that's been done. So I just want to acknowledge that that work that's happened. It isn't people coming together that have no skill and don't know what they're doing. It's been months and actually years of people working with councillors to get us to this point. So I just wanted to put that in.
Sure. That's a bit.
I just wanted to acknowledge your willingness to front up to us. That you could have just turned up on Zoom or something, but your commitment to come and speak to us personally in council, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. That's absolutely the case. With no closing comments, further comments from you or
No, don't.
Chief Executive.
No, thank you. I think we do all appreciate the work. Chris does put in some very, very long hours and is always available to everybody. So I think, thank you for your comments, Councillor Baird. It's very much the way it is. So.
Yeah. And I know you don't really want to give me the floor, but first of all, I just say, look, thank you for the very kind words, particularly from you, Mayor Andy. And just the flip side to that is that, yes, the team, and it's not just me, but the team collectively have worked really, really hard on this. But the thing that has made it work is the cooperation and the approach that the councils have made. And one thing, and I've said this to a number of people, is that I really, really enjoy coming here. So it's not, it's not a problem coming and sitting at this table. I think you've all given me time. You've put up with my inappropriate comments every now and again. And but I think you've worked, yeah, you've all worked really hard. And I think the quality of the decision making around this table is incredibly high. And I think you've given really good thought to it, and I've appreciated the challenge and the questions that have happened. So yeah, just to say, I think everyone should pat themselves on the back here. Thank you very much.
Official reaction. Rather fast in the glow of the approval we've been given, we'll move straight reports from information endpoint. What this project update reports, somebody like to receive of assets, we're happy to move. So you're looking for a second to do that. Thank you, Councillor Buckendale, seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Pass to Chief Executive, passing to Arno.
Thank you,
Bernardo.
Your Worship, for that. This is the first one for the year, so let's get into it. Normally, we'll just go through them one by one, and I'll open the floor for any questions on any of these. And what I'll just do as we go through them is just kind of highlight the items in there that's new for this update. So if we look at the first one, the Martin de Bulls wastewater centralisation project, all of the wastewater projects were delayed by waiting for national government to finalize the wastewater discharge standards. That was done in December, and these will now start moving along quite a bit faster. So the first one, the Mountain Dew Bulls, if you look at 3.8, that's really the big movement. We had a meeting in the week with Horizons Regional Council. We've explained to them that our new proposed lodgement date for the new consent would be around end of October or early November, and they are comfortable with that. So it was June, but because of that delay, it pushes the whole program on a little bit. So for Martin de Bulls, do we have any questions on that?
Yeah,
He just through the chair to Mr. Bernardi, there was in the minutes something about ongoing discussions with ANZCO Bulls, but I see that's not there now.
Yeah, thank you for the question. We've completed what we needed to discuss with them. So now we'll just keep keeping them on the loop in the design. But yeah, so that's where that is.
question from me. I think option 1 and 2 were the options of discharge to land in entirety. And I think that needs to be absolutely considered as a council position. And I take on board the council staff saying this is unaffordable in terms of affordability. But in terms of making sure that you've understood that councillors have understood the position and the consequences of it, especially with regard to iwi, whose always preference is to discharge to land. So rather than just being dealt with by saying, we've made this decision to start, that it should be a decision as part of this paper, but given some consideration as that delta of costs and so on.
Your Worship, if I can make a suggestion on that, I think it's a valid point. We've got a working group that includes iwi, and we've gone from a very long list to a list of things that we think we can actually do. And in that process, they agreed that those are completely unaffordable. But I take on board what Mayor Andy is saying. The decision making is around this table. So what I would suggest is when we present to council all the options, we will also add in cost and all the other factors that we've come across and potential comments around that, and still leave the final decision up to council.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you're right. The final decision is always sitting with council, and in the future will probably sit with the entity. That's the relevant point. However, I think we need to go through this process, councillor Wilson.
Yeah, just, sorry, item 3.10 and seems to be something new. Some additional investigation work is now underway. Borax is likely current pond leakage. I don't think I've seen reference to that before.
Yeah,
Something new that's cropped up.
Yes, well spotted. We have put some bores down in Bulls to check so the old ponds are not lined, and for us to save the cost of having to empty them, line them, and then refill them, we would need to prove that there are no seepage out of those old ponds. And all we do is we check the groundwater around them through these bores, and then we can have a view on that.
Okay, I understand. So that's an exploratory bore to do some ground
Shallow bore.
assessment work. Okay.
Yeah, and we just take samples out of it for the groundwater, and then we can see what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Next question from me. You refer to the working group. When was the last time that working group met? And was it after this new standards were released?
Yes, yeah, they meet quite often.
Did they meet this week?
No, that was our experts that meet with Horizons on a quarterly basis. And we do that to keep Horizons up to date with all the activities, so they have comfort that this thing is moving along, we're not stalling.
So when's the working group next meet?
Yeah, I'm not sure. The last workshop I somehow think was in December when we looked at all the options and the costs and where it all falls. I'm not sure at the moment when the next
Put that in the next update.
Yeah.
And the council representative on that working group?
The working group. Oh, that's good. I'll check on who's on there. I'm not on it, but I'll have a look.
Steve Khan is driving this.
That's, yeah,
Yeah,
really,
I'm just wanting to make sure that council has some local boards within this working group. And can you come back to me, because if there needs to be a refresh of that, then it's appropriate. Councillor Rakawa.
Just a networking group, this is where your iwi, this is where iwi sit on
Yeah, it
networking
is.
group, and that's going to be meeting this month, is it?
now, let me just clear up the working group. So what the working group is, it's a bunch, it's a whole lot of experts, including iwi. Everybody that has to contribute to the final solution that we will present to council to make a decision. That's the working group. So these are technical people, and we include iwi for a cultural perspective, we include the technical people. Mayor Andy makes a good question about who represents council on there, but I do still firmly believe that no decisions are made there. All we're doing is we're taking lots of options and making them smaller and smaller to finally something we can present to council saying, this is the journey and these are the ones we think we can achieve.
I just wonder if a option for this project to put all that in context is at your assets workshop. You can bring that information just about who's on the working group.
Yeah, that I can do, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, take that as an action. I think it's a good option. I think this just needs, the scale of this needs our absolute understanding. And probably this is one that the council, may look to say, there's a council portfolio hold in the space. Happy to move on.
Thank you very much. That's helpful. Next item is the Ratna wastewater discharge to land. So this is one that has been on hold until those standards be finalized. So that has now been finalized and now work will proceed. And what we are looking at in that space is to look now at all the options, bring that back to council and get some direction from council as to where do we go with this one.
The question from me, the reports have illustrated there's a very significant cost saving potentially to pump through to effectively Wanganui. Have Wanganui new council given a feedback on their acceptance to that proposal?
No, they have not. This was before the change of the councils.
Yeah. So that's just a process that would need checking.
Yeah.
And in terms of sometimes iwi, and I was at Ratana the other night, sometimes iwi have a very strong cultural direction that you are responsible for dealing with your own waste. So has that thought been investigated within Ratana?
We have discussed that with the iwi, whose land will be affected by that transfer. And they were comfortable with it.
Okay.
But I take on board, we would have to do that again. That's been some time ago.
Yeah. Just crossing some T's here. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Question similar vein. Item 3.4, it says that connection through to Wanganui District Council connection, it's now been parked. Has it been parked or has it been discounted? So two quite different. Parked means it's still alive and floating and probably could go again. Discounted means it's off the table. Which of those two is it?
Parked.
Parked. So it's still possible?
Absolutely, all of them on the table.
Okay. And just secondly, this project's been around for a long time, badly like many of our projects have. Has there been any assessment of the delays in this? Is it causing any concerns out there? Is there any problems? Is our current infrastructure now, the way we're currently operating, maybe it's, I think it's on an expired consent. Has that been assessed and been checked that we're okay still? Yep.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we have checked with DIA and Horizons. Everybody's aware of the delay with these new standards, and we couldn't really make decisions until we knew what was available to us. So everybody's comfortable with that. And in the meantime, the plant's operated as normal.
Plant's
It is.
operating okay.
It is on an expired consent, but it has existing use rights because we applied in time for the new one.
Thank you.
There are potential rail corridors and designations between the two, that being worked on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions with regard to Ratana? No, thank you.
All right, the next one is the Taihape wastewater treatment plant improvements. Big movement here would be the inflow and infiltration up in Taihape. So we found that the amount of stormwater that gets into the system is probably one of the biggest factors that contribute to the poor performance of the plant. We have since then put a program together. We've done some initial work, but since we last spoke, we've actually completed the detailed investigations. That report's due probably in the next week or so to tell us what they've found. We do think, looking at the data right now, that we could probably reduce the water flow by 15%. On that plant, that's quite substantial and definitely something for us to look at. So we're going to put some numbers together, put a report together and bring back to council for decisions.
There were comments made around this at Taihape Community Board last night around some little bits of glitches, and I'm not going to go into those because they will have been dealt with. But in terms of, the outcome from this is really assessing whether individual properties are contributing to stormwater effectively going into a network. And they will ultimately be served with some form of notice to correct. Just bearing in mind that some of these properties may face significant work to do that. Is there any potential for council to consider where we sit in that space?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Absolutely. So that report is going to bring the numbers to council to say, this is what we found. We think the bulk will be in this cost range and some of them might be more expensive. And then we'll have a range of options. Potentially council can help with those repairs because it's ultimately, we could save a lot of money. But the bottom line is we need to really have a look at those numbers to allow you to make informed decisions.
So when you say council could help, there are several options here, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we could form joint contracts to do the work.
Yeah.
Rather than everybody employing their own separate person. Those sorts of things, but the cost would still come back on the ratepayer, potentially.
Well, there I would definitely lean on Leanne's expertise as to what we can do and how we can do it. And it will be up to council to decide, do we want to get all the money back, some of the money, or that's a council decision. But the important thing is we need to be able to give you the numbers to make that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying that there needs to be a conversation and there needs to be thought given to this ahead of time. And I'm not saying for a second to those people online that council is going to fund individual properties, but it is a discussion as to how that could proceed. Would be something that needs to be thought about, probably in conjunction also with our long-term plan. Councillor Heather.
So I was just thinking that for homeowners themselves, this process they could well not even be aware. Probably people aren't aware that that's, they may not even be aware that there's an issue around this for them. So that's, well, in my head, that's good because first and foremost, you're going to let people know why we're doing it, what's affecting the wider system, how their little part of it is affecting that. So I think that that's a positive that we've gone down that track to start things off, as opposed to going out and we're going to just doing something without knowing. So,
Councillor Wong.
Through the chair, Ms. Bernardi, the costs that you're talking about in this structure, do you have any idea of what sort of costs is the majority in the low? Just give me a very rough shape of what you expect. I know you don't know details, but as an estimate, just to prepare the ratepayers for perhaps what's upcoming or what's on your mind would be quite informative if you just give some idea of it.
And just be a little bit careful around this, please, because then people take it as gospel.
I will. Me and Andy actually had it right earlier. It'll be a range of things. Some things might be really simple, like taking a downpipe out of a gully trap. Some things might be more complex. It could be anywhere in there.
The other thing for me, before I go to the chair of assets, when you identify that a property has stormwater going into the wastewater network, and they're saying it's council responsibility, equally, we have the need to provide an alternative for that by way of stormwater network. Will that be
Yes.
also part of the review?
Yes, it will be. It's a really interesting question. The stormwater system will be designed to accept the stormwater runoff from all properties. It should be sufficiently sized for that, but we will check.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, part of my question was the same, Your Worship, was just questioning our own infrastructure up there. So you've indicated that you've got a range of properties we've had this I&I testing done. I certainly understand what that means. And you've indicated 15% potential less loading. Is that all on private property, or is that a combination of some of our, first question is, does that include some of our own council assets that may be getting water seeping into them via underground cracks? Have we done that level of assessment as well? And does that form part of your 15%, or is that over and above?
So we have done the investigations. That will be detailed in the report. And this is kind of the numbers. We should be very clear on those numbers. So if we're going to go to the effort to look only on private property, what is the number of reduction that we can achieve, and what is the dollar value of that?
But I just also say that's exactly what I'd be expecting to see in the report. I'm only interested in seeing the numbers. I'm not interested in seeing individual addresses or any of that detail. But also would be quite interested to have it, if you're doing the numbers, so some sort of a topographical pinpoint of where it is for the Taihape area, so that we can understand where there may be some areas that are more heavily impacted, which could be terrain orientated, but then we can reference that back to what our own standard of drainage network is, to see if we can formulate a plan going forward. I think it's relevant information that could come to the committee for that, with that information.
Thank you. Moving on to Martin Water Strategy.
Thank you very much. The Martin Water Strategy, you'd be aware that we came to the end of all the testing by December, just before Christmas break. What we've done since then is we've asked WSP, they have a team of process engineers, to give us an independent review of all the testing and all the results. We also asked them to have a look as to where we are now with all the testing and what was originally brought to council. Is that still the same, or is it not the same anymore? And if it's not the same, then that will initiate another discussion with council to say, after all the testing, this is where we end up. What would you like to do? So I think that report is due this week. And I would imagine we would bring something to assets and infrastructure or alternatives to council in March.
Councillor Okawa, noted.
Through you, Chair, Mr. Chair. I know you say that RDC staff are investigating several short-term, medium-term enhancements.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
It's a good question. Our staff takes so much strain in December. That team is small and is under so much pressure. They were working 24 hours a day for weeks on end, and there's only 5 of them. So because this is taking really long to finalize, I do not want them to suffer through another summer like that. On the other side, we have a community that's running out of patience, and I think we need to do something to improve the water short term until we can get the final solution in place. So we have been looking. This is one of the benefits of our new relationship with the 2 other councils. They've got similar problems. They've got solutions that's a little bit out the box, that's been in place for 10 or 15 years. So that's been really valuable to us, and now we're looking at doing the same stuff. That is going to be another conversation with council.
Thank you.
I think that will be a fairly heavy conversation that comes back to the assets meeting. So I'm happy to park it there at the moment, because that raises a number of issues.
Right, thank you very much. We'll move on. The next one, we've got Ishwa in the room for questions. If you've got any questions, he'll be happy to answer those. It's interesting with buildings and designs and the like, there's always this quiet phase where it looks like nothing is going on. The Martin office and library definitely falls under that, where by the end of last year, we approved the floor plan layout and preliminary design has started. Once that's completed, when is the next milestone for this with council?
I think we should come back by end of March when we do the preliminary design, and we also want to look at the costing.
Yeah.
We want to present a design along with the cost by council.
Okay, any questions on?
Just one quick thing, just to get my head around this. The EOC Emergency Operations Centre, which is stage one of the total plan build, resource consent application has been lodged, or building consent application?
Resource consent.
Resource consent, so actually we haven't got the building consent plans in as yet, that's a stage behind.
That is, so we've just got into the detailed design. So at the end of detailed design, we will have to price that thing because we've not priced it yet. We'll price it, and then once the contractor is on board, we'll do a building consent application.
Right, sorry, I thought we were already at building consent stage on that one.
So the resource consent, during the process of the resource consent, I think we were asked for 2 new requirements. We were asked to do an acoustic report. And we were asked to do a landscape submission as well. So we had to go and engage consultants and do a separate report for that.
Yeah. Is what it is.
Councillor Shah.
Through the chair again, under 7.4, the soil from the existing car park at the back shall be removed off-site and replaced with contaminated soil. Why would we replace it with contaminated soil?
So that's an interesting question. We had to play a bit of Lego with the amount of soil that we have that's contaminated and what's the cheapest way to resolve it. And we found that to shift it from one part to another part to backfill is much cheaper than to take it to Bonnie Glen. So we will remove a bit of soil from the back end. We will put the contaminated soil there, and it will be covered by a parking area.
So it was cheaper to do, to keep it on site and basically keep it by putting the parking area across it. Yeah, or else it was going to be a significant cost to completely remove it.
Okay, Your Worship, we'll move on if everybody's happy with that. The next one's a Taiti grandstand. So this is now in Galen's area up north, and myself and Ishwa are a little bit out of the loop on this one. So if there are any questions on the Taiti grandstand, we have Galen in the room to answer those.
Any comment from Galen?
There's one question there, Your Worship.
Yeah, sorry. Councillor O'Connor.
To you, Mayor and Andy. Just coming back, sorry, to the Martin officers, just wanted a clarity on that soil that you're moving over to one side. Is that a common practice? Is that something that normally happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move along. Next one on the list there is the.
Councillor Hero.
Oh, sorry. There was just the date for the February the 21st that I brought up the previous meeting. Sorry, and
Yeah, I see the 8.4.
The grandstand meeting.
Oh, the green.
and the Greentown one, it says that the next scheduled meeting is
Date's
the
programmed
21st.
to be a weekend, Saturday, isn't it? Is that?
It's just a mistake.
Sorry, that's a mistake. It's a Thursday.
Oh,
Thank you.
The 19th.
Okay.
All right, the next one is the Taipei Town Hall. You remember last year we went through a process with all the stakeholders and user groups up in Taipei to find out exactly what they would want in the building and how it would work. Maycroft is busy with the design on that. And at the moment, so it's preliminary design, and at the moment, their design is exceeding the budget. So this is the idea with putting a contractor as the main contact We then send them back and say, well, make changes until you get back in the budget and then bring that back to us. So we are in that process at the moment to see what they can slim down and change to get back to budget.
And the delta, is what sort of magnitude?
Because this is public, I won't say, but
It's something.
it's not a large number.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Wong, just be a comment.
Is this appropriate meeting to ask if there was consideration of this project, of upcoming legislation changes that may affect this project? Is there any comment that we have?
It's a reasonable question.
Yes, council did ask us to, as staff, to do some work on looking at the implications for that, so we are doing that. Yeah. As soon as it's finished, we'll come back, be in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Thank you. So the next one is the Martin Swim Centre. Where we are with this one is we went out to tender over December, January, the tender closed. And myself and Ishmael and another person will be doing the tender evaluation tomorrow. And then we are planning to bring a report back to council on the 25th of February for decision.
Yeah, so there'll be a detailed
Breakdown.
process to follow that.
Just one quick question there. You were looking at the tenders tomorrow, did you say?
Yeah, so we have scored it. So the tender evaluation,
Okay, so, and the scoring was done in conjunction with your QS?
no, so how this works is you nominate people up front who will be on the tender evaluation team. There's 3 of us. We scored independently and tomorrow we moderate. So tomorrow we have a look at it together. After all of that, then we look at the price.
Thank you.
Other questions? Let's move on.
That is the whole lot.
Thank you very much. Now we move to 11.2, subject everybody has been waiting for, the financial statement. The Chief Executive.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm so pleased that everybody's excited to hear this report. Warren, I've offered to speak on this in Warren's absence. He's tied up some other work, but just acknowledging his work putting this together for us. Typically, this report would go to finance performance, but our meeting, the timing of our next meeting meant I'd be presenting a December set of numbers sort of in, I think it's late February, March, and that just didn't sit well. So I wanted to bring it to council. There's not a lot that I really want to emphasise. We're tracking relatively on call to budget, which is a really nice way to be for our operational income and expenditure. Our personnel looked right on the cusp, but what we realised that was sitting in our personnel costs was the cost of our people time for local water done well, which is not funded by us, the council. It is funded by debt to be passed on to our new CCO once it's all up and running later this year. So we hold the cost essentially and fund it through debt and pass it over.
Yeah. Just with regard to that, there probably needs to be an explanation to council and recorded as to where our costs will lie in terms of the operation of the exceptions of Strict Water. For instance, I've already been questioned by people saying, we've made appointments, including myself, here, etc. Does that come with a revenue stream back to the people that have been appointed? No, but we just need clarification around the amount of cost and resource in terms of those processes. And I take on board this Conlon one as well.
Certainly. So through the chair, we have a number of people supporting us. So right at the moment, for instance, we have Mr. Bernardi doing work, as you heard earlier today, in the CCO directly. I have an accountant helping us prepare all of the work we need, and there's a number of other staff, and we're backfilling. We've got different ways of funding that. We record our time, and this time is recorded at our personnel costs and overhead allocation, and that will be debt funded. I haven't got a figure for what that will be. We also incur direct costs that the 3 councils on behalf of the CCO. Attract, for example, we're using we're using PwC as our advisor at the moment to help us work through how we're going to transfer the assets and debt. All of that is funded through the debt mechanism so that we are not incurring that at a council level. This is not rated for, this is not covered in any shape or form. We use some of our cash flow in the short term, but we transfer that across to the entity as and when it gets set up. Does that make sense? So we record that quite clearly so that we can present it to the three CEs as part of their gatherings and know what we're spending and why. So apart from that, on the OPEX, it is looking good. Our revenue is reasonably on track, and our OPEX costs are not too far out. Our balance sheet hasn't had a lot of change. Our debt is still sitting, external debt is still sitting at 54 million. The big probably variance for us is around our capital spend, and you've just heard from Mr. Bernardi why there are delays with that. A lot of that work that spend is outside of our control. I note our roading program is relatively on track. We're sitting at about 43% there, which at a 50% of the year to date is a pretty good way to be. Weather does have an impact on our expenditure there. Other than that, I haven't got much to add. I just wanted to bring it to the table closer to the December than March. Happy to take questions.
Questions from councillors? So the 54 million minus the 13 million of liquidity is currently where you could say we're sitting financially. In terms of the extra money, in terms of roading, we do note that nearly $1 million in terms of the extra roading that we're taking on comes out of road reserve, which is,
Sorry, that is next year, not this year.
Yeah, but in the future that will come out of a liquidity base as well.
I see, yes.
Big issue is our capital projects.
Correct.
And the time frames for builds, Martin Pool, Martin Water and waste programs, etc. It's the issue.
And you can see those variances and what's left to spend. And yes, we are only tracking at 13% year to date. I understand that Warren has met with a number of the managers and will look at doing a reforecast on that capital spend across this year. And it also flows into the program that we presented last week when we looked at our budget overall for 26-27, because we carry that into, we rephase the next year so that we're not doing carry forwards at the end of the year.
Leanne, is there any comment around the process that we're going to make sure that we continue with it, the audit and risk type process as well, and assessment there?
Certainly. So we went to market recently for the independent chair for Risk Assurance Committee, and we are in the process of shortlisting in preparation to interview, and we plan to get that done in the very near future, with the goal being, I think off the top of my head, we've got a meeting scheduled for early April, and we're hoping to have a new independent chair in place by then. We're hoping to have the committee, terms of reference, everything all finalised so that we can move forward over the next 3 years like we have done in the past.
Just to clarify, it might not be a new independent chair, it will
Sorry,
be an independent.
A new
chair.
committee, sorry,
Yeah.
as in whoever is on the committee. Apologies.
Councillor Baird.
I'm sorry, going back to 4.0 where you've got the debt listed, the borrowing. I just wondered, and I didn't highlight this in a question before today. What's the WACC at the moment, the weighted average cost of capital?
Around 4.3% at the moment. It's been quietly dropping over the last 12 months as we've been able to bring in. When I moved into the role, there was quite a lot of fixed debt, which really limits how quick we can transition around. So we've been slowly improving that, and you'll see on one of our pages there that the moving tranches of debt, and you're seeing some of those lower rates. So you're seeing about 4.3, I think it's 4.35 to be precise.
Thank you.
Councillor Wong.
Just perhaps if you could clarify the situation, the extra $900,000 that we're budgeting for the increased road works that we're doing for the coming year is being taken out of roading reserves without any effect on our long-term plan, I take it. So how big a reserves have we got before it actually would impact on other areas?
So through the chair, so the reserves that we're referring to, because roading is a targeted rate, we had budgeted and rated to receive depreciation in the year that we didn't receive it. Sorry, we didn't require it because we use our depreciation to fund our renewables. So that was sitting in a specific reserve. So we've taken that. So that has no impact on our program of work. It is not taking money out of our planned expenditure. It is, rather than us going and rating for it, we're going, we've already rated for this money, let's use it.
We have even more of the reserves?
Not in roading, I think we've pretty much cleared that out, but if you look at our annual report, you'll see all of our cash reserves. We detail it and get it audited every year.
I knew it was somewhere.
Yeah.
Thank you.
About 5.3.
Would somebody like to move the receipt of the financial snapshot? Thank you, councillor Baird. Councillor Wong seconding. Those in, sorry,
No.
those in favour? Those against? Carry. Before we move into public excluded, question to staff, have I missed anything that need to be dealt with? No questions now reading further from councillors. Thank you. Would somebody like to move that we move into public excluded for the reasons given in the schedule? Councillor Wilson and Councillor Field seconding. Those in favour?
Right.
Those against? Carried. Thank you for those on.